We're about halfway through the year, depending on when you listen to this. We're right around month 5, going into month 6. We're finishing up second quarter. We're getting into halftime. What is very important and critical to do at halftime? Evaluate. How are you doing? Where are you at? And where are you going? Welcome to Life of a CISO. I'm Dr. Eric Cole, your host, and we'll be taking you on a journey each week on what it takes to be a CISO and what are solutions that you can implement today if you are currently a Chief Information Security Officer or if you want to be one in the future. This is Life of a CISO. Welcome, 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 welcome. You hear the voice, you know the energy, you know the face. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Hopefully at this point, you know what time it is. It's time. It's time, my friends. I hope you're buckled up. I hope we're ready to go. I hope you're energized because it is time. It is time for Life of a CISO with yours truly, the E-Dog. Dr. E is in the house. So let's go, let's go, let's go. What I want to cover on this episode is let's just do a little check-in. Let's do a little coaching. Let's do a little realignment because here's the reality. We're about halfway through the year, depending on when you listen to this. We're right around month 5, going into month 6. We're finishing up second quarter. We're getting into halftime. What is very important and critical to do at halftime? Evaluate. How are you doing? Where are you at? And where are you going? Now, one thing I found working with a lot of folks is people are not crystal clear on what they really want. So what I want to go on this episode is how do we create this roadmap? How do we go in and figure out what it is you really want and then create a roadmap in order to get you there? Because here's the reality. The reality is quite simple. If you don't make any changes, if you continue doing what you're doing, you're essentially going to be where you're at the end of the year. So the question is, are we good with that? Are we good if basically where we are at today, essentially, I know we talk mainly about career, mainly about being a world-class CISO. So let's start there. If your current job position, your current responsibilities, and your current compensation, your current work schedule, and the current things you're doing to help your career, if you are in that same exact spot that you are today in 6 months, you doing your happy dance? You super pumped? You super aligned? Once again, you should be thankful for where you are. I'm not saying that you don't have gratitude. You should have extreme gratitude because wherever you are today, you are rocking it. And I'm sure you are better than where you are in January. But let's just do that check. Remember, position of love. I'm here to help you. I'm here to support you. No criticism. But just look at where you are now versus where you were in January. Is your job title the same? Is your work responsibility the same? Is your title the same? Is your compensation the same? Is what you're doing the same? Is how you're interacting the same? Is it basically the same? Or have you made massive changes? Because here's the reality. Data doesn't lie. So what I always like doing, and I know it sounds silly, but trust me, it's so insightful. But in all areas of my life, including my career, I track numbers. So for example, with my CISO program, I look at how many students we had enrolled a year from now, 6 months ago, January now, and I'm like, if that line is pretty much the same, I got a problem. Because that means that business isn't growing, I'm not marketing, I'm not selling, I'm not doing it. If it's like this, that's great. And basically, if it's increased by 30% from January to today, and I keep doing what I'm doing, it should increase by another 30% by the end of the year. Right? So tracking and understanding metrics is a key part of being world class. It's a key part of crushing it. When you go in and you look at really successful people, they are tracking and managing their growth very seriously and looking at, okay, if I haven't changed in 3 or 6 months, and if I continue doing what I'm doing, I'm going to be in the same spot. Is that okay? And if not, what changes do we need to make? What shifts or adjustments do we need to make? But it all starts with recognizing where you are and recognizing where you want to go. Now, I'm focusing mainly on careers here and being a world-class CISO. But I recommend you do this with relationships, with your health, with your mindset, with all the other areas of your life, because it's the same thing. Things do not change unless you change, right? People always want external things to happen. Oh, when I have more time, I'll exercise, or when this happens, or when the kids get older, or when, guess what? If you're relying on external variables to change your internal life, it ain't gonna happen, my friends. You got to change. You gotta make time. You gotta figure it out. You gotta start doing things differently. So I just wanna shift for one moment on our focus. I notice a lot of folks that I talk with, and when I get on coaching calls and I ask folks what they want, or I start new coaching clients, or I do my group coaching call, and I ask people, what do you really want? What do you really want to get out of this program? Do you know what 70% of the people say? I want to make more money. I want to make more money. Other 30% is typically, I want to advance my career, get a new job title, put myself in a promotion. But once again, the underlying concept of that is to make more money. So we sort of live in this world where everyone is sort of obsessed about making more money. How can I add more money to my paycheck? Let me help you out, my friends. Money is readily available. You can print money. When you understand how money works, money is easy to make. There's essentially an unlimited supply, and you and me both can become millionaires. It's no scarcity. This competition aspect that in order for me to get rich, you have to get poor is insane. It actually creates much more negative friction that's needed. I look at everyone going, hey, how can we work together? Now, some people don't. Some people choose to compete with me, and if they want to do that, that's okay, but I'm not competing with them. I have my swim lane, and if you'd like to work together, we can help each other make a lot more money together, or I can make a lot of money by myself. But money is easy to make. That we need to solve right away. Because if you have an unhealthy relationship with money, if you think that money is scarce, money is the root of all evil, rich people are corrupt, whatever the stories are that many of us might have grown up with, you're going to be stuck. And where I can usually tell with people where there's a money issue is I look at their last 3 years. Most people, when it comes to money, it's like a thermostat. If I set a thermostat at 70 degrees, what happens in the summer? When the temperature starts rising to 73, 74, 75, what do? We put on the air conditioning to get it back to 70. And then in the winter, when it starts dropping 68, 67, 65, we turn on the heater to get back up to 70. But essentially, our comfortable temperature is 70. So our system in our house will regulate to keep us at 70. If we get a little too high, we drop down. We get it too low, we drop back up. Most people have a number. And if I look at your last 3 years with most people, and I'll just pick a number. Last 3 years, you've made, let's say, 500K. Well, guess what? That's your thermostat. There's some internal programming that says, I should be making 500K and no more. And here's the reality. I've seen this with folks. If they start doing really good and they start making 6 or 7 or 800, they all of a sudden do things to get themselves back to 500. And then if they start losing that 500 and they get 2 or 3, they start working super hard. I had a friend of mine that was making 500, and then they started losing some of the commission. He was basically a commission position and started making 200 or 300. Well, he started hustling like there was no tomorrow, and he started bringing in 200 to 300K additional revenue every month for 3 months until he got himself back up to 600. Then he slowed back down and dropped back to the 500 because that was his thermostat. I'm like, dude, for 3 months you brought in 200 additional. What if you continued? If you continue doing, you proved for 3 months you could bring in 200 additional business commission. If you did that for the next 3 or 4 months, you could easily be making $1 million. But there was something in him that as soon as he got to his thermostat level, right, he stopped working. It's a crazy, crazy thing. So if you haven't increased the amount of money you're making in the last 2 or 3 years, you have a programming issue. Your thermostat is stuck at that number. And until we can go in and change that, until you can recognize that you're worth millions of dollars, you should be making millions of dollars a year, you should easily be a multi-millionaire, and you reset your thermostat to multi-million, we're never going to get you to where you need to be. Because as long as those limiting beliefs, that thermostat is set, you're never going to be able to break out of that. So you need to spend some time and say, okay, do I have a money issue? Do I have thoughts or beliefs around money that are limiting me from really growing and expanding? And the way you fix that is you just sort of observe. And trust me, if you've been at the same salary for 2 or 3 years, guarantee, my friends, guarantee you have a money issue. There is a limiting belief that says that is how much you're worth. And until you can convince yourself, basically a few things. One, your net worth is unlimited. You should be a multi-millionaire, and money is easy to make. Money is readily available, and get rid of that scarcity model. And you just keep saying it. It's one of those things. How do you think you got those limiting beliefs? Somebody said them over and over again. It's real easy to change limiting beliefs. All you have to do is keep repeating them over and over, the new beliefs over and over again until they overwrite the old beliefs. Just like a hard drive. If you want to write a new file to the system, you just have to keep rewriting it until it becomes permanent on the disk. The only reason you have limiting beliefs around money is because that was the environment you were brought up in, and that's all you heard year after year after year. So all you have to do is reprogram and say those 3 statements I just said multiple times a day after day. Write them down. Continue to look for facts to prove they are true. And then over time, you will reset your thermostat and you'll be all set. Now, here's the reality. We need to get rid of those limiting beliefs around money where you know that money is easy to make, it's readily available, you're a multimillionaire, and you are worth and make as much money as you possibly want. However, once we get through that, my friends, once we get past that, we don't need to focus on money because money is unlimited. Money is easy to make. You can make as much money as possible. I will tell you, over my career, when you focus on money, you don't get it. You know how you make more money? You know how you make more impact? You know how you're happier and enjoying life and on fire? Is you focus on the one resource that is limited. I know many, many people. I know many successful people. I know millionaires and billionaires. And millionaires and billionaires know how to make money. They essentially can print money, create money. It's unlimited money. Money is unlimited. But I will tell you, I have never, ever met a single person, whether it's a billionaire, whether it's a multimillionaire, whoever it is. I have never, ever met a single person that knows how to create time. Time is the ultimate differentiator. Time is the limited resource. Time is what you want to focus your energy and effort on. Time is how you become world class. Because guess what? Everybody has 24 hours in a day. Nobody gets 22. Nobody gets 26. So the real question now comes down when we're creating a roadmap for our life, or we're creating a CISO roadmap, is how are you using those 24 hours? Where are you putting the energy and effort? Because that's ultimately going to break it down. So let's break down the steps for creating the CISO roadmap. First, where are you at today? And where were you at 6 months ago, and where were you at a year ago? Are you in the same spot, or are you changing, growing, and expanding when it comes to your career? Just focus on our career here. On this episode, I'm just focusing on career. You can do this with other areas of life. I'm just focused on your career. So once again, go back a year ago. What was your title? What were your hours? What was your responsibility? And what was your salary? January. What was your title? What was your salary? What was your responsibility? What were your hours? Today, the same thing. How much has that shifted? How much has that changed? Most of you, don't get upset. Most of you probably going to be pretty flat. That's okay. That's why we're here. That's why you're listening. Awareness is key. Until you are aware of a problem, my friend, you can't fix it. You need to have awareness. So that's what we're doing here. We're gaining awareness. So now you have awareness. You realize that you're basically stuck at a certain temperature. So now here's the question. What do you really want? Let's just go 6 months. Let's just focus on this year. You can do 12, you can do 18. It really doesn't matter. We just want to point in the future. So we'll pick 6 months. What do you want in 6 months? In terms of title, in terms of work hours, in terms of responsibility, in terms of salary. You want it to be a little bit of a push, but you also want it to be attainable. Like right now, if you just out of college, you're a junior security engineer, 6 months, and you're out of college, and you're saying by the end of the year, you want to be a CISO making 10 million. Miracles happen, my friend. I'm never going to limit you, but is that really something that you truly believe is achievable? Maybe a better option is that you increase your responsibilities, you move up to the next level, and you make another 30 or 40K. But the point is, you need specificity. So in 6 months, what do you want your title to be? What do you want your hours to be? What do you want your salary to be? And what do you want your responsibility to be? Specificity is key. The more specific you are, the better off you'll be able to achieve that. So now we have where you are and where you want to be. Now the differential. So now the question is, in order to get to where you are, 3 questions. What do you need to start doing that you're not currently doing? Do you need to read? Do you need to take classes? Do you need to learn different skills? Do you need to take training? Do you need to show up differently? Do you need to communicate? What are you not doing that you need to start doing to get there? And make that list. What are those items? Then, what do you need to stop doing? What are things you're doing right now that are not helping you? Social media, TV, games. Once again, a lot of people, when they hear my podcast, going, Eric, you're against having fun. You basically are saying that we shouldn't have fun. That's not what I'm saying. But my question is this. Is watching TV for 2 hours a night? Is playing games for 2 hours a night? Is spending 2 hours a day on social media? Is that really fun for you? Are you really getting so excited and so jacked up? Or is it just a distraction to pass time? Is it just numbing you? Is it just a form of addiction? I know people, when they talk about addictions, they talk about alcohol and drugs and things like that. But guess what? TV, gaming, social are the same thing. So is it really giving you enjoyment and satisfaction? Because if it is, great. But then my question is this. Do you really need 2 hours? Can you maybe get the same excitement, satisfaction, and joy in 30 minutes? I'll tell you, exercising, doing things for me, float tanks, saunas, meditation, reading, going for walks, I get so much more excitement and enjoyment and benefit than TV, gaming, or social. So try new things, because here's the reality. If you've always done something and you've never tried something different, how do you know? How do you know you might not enjoy it? So what are things that are not serving you that you maybe want to stop doing? And then what are things that you need to keep doing? What are things that are really helping you that you need to continue and keep doing? So now you're basically creating an action plan. You're now creating an action plan of, okay, here's things I need to do. Here's things I need to stop doing. And here's things I need to continue doing. So now you have a clear action plan. Now, those are the totality. Now spend time. If you do all those things, will they create the results that you want? Oh, I know there's no guarantees in life, but we want to get to close to a guarantee. Like, for example, if you want to lose weight, if you go and you lift weights for 30 minutes a day, you do 30 minutes of cardio, and you restrict your diet to 2,000 calories, it's pretty much guaranteed, unless there's some serious problems or health issues or other things going on, it's a pretty much guarantee you're going to lose some weight. So those are the type things we're looking for is there anything missing? If you do all these things, what is the probability of you achieving the goal? If you are above 90% confident, awesome. If you are below, then the question is, what's missing? If you're like, Eric, I do all these things and I'm still not sure I'm going to meet it, great. What things are missing? What additional things must you do in order to be able to achieve that goal? And then once that list is crisp and clear, then we go in and say, okay, let's break this in half. Where do we need to be in 3 months? Now, just so you know, it's not always a direct split. For example, you might have reading and you might front end that. So the first 3 months, you might read a lot more, and the second 3 months read less, because then you're going to put it into action. So it's not necessarily just splitting it in half. You need to think through going, okay, what's the critical path? What are the different pieces that need to go together, and what is the order I need to put them in? And then once you do that, now we have our halfway point. Now we know in 3 months, are we on track? Are we on track? Are we ahead of schedule, behind schedule, or on track? Because the more we check in, the more we can adjust. Then, once we have the halfway, we say, okay, this is what we need in 3 months. Then we split it now into 3 pieces. What do we need to do in month 1? What do we need to do in month 2? What do we need to do in month 3? Then once we have those down, then you guessed it. Now we break it down into weeks, or 4 pieces. Week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. And my friends, does it really get any simpler than that? Because now, if you go in and look at a week, If you get off, if you're supposed to read 30 pages a week and something happens, you don't do it that week, can you recover? Yes. You can recover from that. But if you wait until 3 months and you're off, it's hard to recover. That's why the more granular you get with this, the easier it becomes. And here's the crazy thing. Craziest thing, my friends. People that have never done this, and I explain this process and explain what we need to do, they're like, oh, Eric, this sounds so complicated. This sounds like so much work. And the reality is, it's the simplest thing on the planet. I then go in, and the last piece, every week, and I just did this morning, I go in and I plan out my week. I actually schedule out. Okay, I said I need to read 30 pages. That's 5 pages a day, and I actually schedule that time on my calendar. You know how easy my life is? Because now I know waking up tomorrow that my day is optimized. I already spent time thinking about highest priority. I reprioritized, readjusted, I put in the time, energy, and effort I needed, and all I have to do is show up. All I have to do is wake up and follow the plan. How much easier is that? Because here's the reality. I don't know about you. The days that I have the most free time are my least productive days, and the days that I'm the most booked are the most productive. I know everyone goes, oh, and I did this last week. I'm like, oh, it'd be great if I had a full day just to regroup. And I did. And the reality is I didn't do that much because it wasn't scheduled. When you're scheduled and you're clear and you're focused, your productivity goes through the roof. You get in flow state so much quicker because your mind knows exactly what it has to do. It just has to show up. Now, here's my thing. And this is really the final challenge as we start to wrap up. What do you have to lose, my friends? If everything is on fire, you are crushing all your goals, you're exceeding your expectations, you're beyond where you want to be in your career, you are just at the pinnacle, awesome. You probably don't need this. You're probably great. The reality is if that's happening, you're already doing 90% of what I said and you don't even realize it. But my guess is you're probably not there. My guess is, if you're really honest with yourself, where you were in January, where you were a year ago, not a whole lot of movement, not a whole lot of growth. So my question is, what do you have to lose? What do you really have to lose, my friends? You can continue operating the way you're operating and the end of the year not really be much farther off than where you were, or you can make a massive pivot. This can be your moment. This can be when you make massive change, because here's the reality. If you keep doing what you're currently doing, you're going to keep getting the same results. If you want different results, you need to make changes. And the more drastic the results, the more drastic the changes. If you have somebody, I just use it because it's an easy example. If you have somebody that wants to lose weight, they got to make some pretty drastic changes if they want drastic results. I have friends that if you look at their pictures from 6 months ago and today, not even the same person. Because they woke up one day and they said enough is enough. They woke up one day and said, I'm not going to live this way anymore. I deserve to be fit. I deserve to be healthy. And they made drastic changes and got drastic results. So you could pivot your entire career. You can pivot your entire life, but it requires you to recognize we need to do things differently. So all I ask is, what if you give this a shot? This methodology I'm teaching you, I vetted it, I've given it to a lot of people. It is amazing how simple it is. So give it a try. And the final piece, I know we're talking about career, but you need to put your life together. So here's one final thing that I do. Every week, I look at my week as a pie. There's 100 168 hours in a week. I do believe in sleeping. I allocate about 8 hours a night, sometimes a little more, a little less, depending on where I'm at and how much pressure and stress I'm putting on myself. But once again, sleep is my top priority. So that's a non-negotiable. Non-negotiable for me. I need sleep. My body needs to heal. That's how I get optimized. So we take out the 8 hours a day, and that gives us 112 hours. Now the question is this. Before we start getting into hours, let's just look at percent. What percent of your time do you want to spend on your health? What percent of your time do you want to spend on your family? What percent of your time do you want to spend on you? And what percent of your time do you want to spend on work? Let's just get the pie chart. Because here's the reality. You can't go in and spend 80 hours at work, 80 hours with your family, and 80 hours on your health. It doesn't work that way, and this is the problem. People overcommit, and then they don't have enough time in the day. So let's just start off real simple. With that pie chart, just get those percents correct. And once you get those percents correct, where you're like, okay, 15% is going to be health, great. That's going to be about 15 to 18 hours. You want to go in and spend 50% on work, that's going to be about 55 hours. And then you start moving to percents. Once you get those general percents where you're like, okay, this makes sense, then you know the hours, and then you can start allocating how you use those hours. So that's another little power trick. But the reality is you need to create a roadmap, you need to create a blueprint, and you need to take control of your life, because the reality is in 6 months, your life can be the same, or in 6 months, it can be drastically different.